Hi, I'm Mike Gafa. I'm part of the Luminex team, and welcome to Whiteboard Wednesday, and welcome again to our series, Leading in the Liminal State. And this morning, I preached on Hebrews 10:24-25 a few weeks back. I actually preached a few more verses than that, but 24 and 25 are really hot verses these days. We are in the liminal state called COVID-19 as we record this. I assume you'll be there when you watch this as well. And these verses in particular are attention getters these days primarily because of the exhortation to not stop meeting together. And then the challenge of, well, what do we do as pastors and leaders with that? What do we literally mean by not stop meeting together? Do we continue to meet firsthand, physically? Is that what that calls us to? Or does it give us the latitude to meet in other ways? And it's a bit nuanced, and we'll touch on that in just a moment. But I think it's easy to overlook that there's three primary elements in these verses: an element to spur one another, the meeting together, and then encouragement. And so if I preached out of the new NIV, and so I'll use the language there, but there's a call to spur one another toward love and good deeds. And this word spur is taken from the Greek paroxysmos, which is literally to kind of poke one another. And I'm very taken by that. So I think of like spurs on cowboy boots. They're not there for aesthetic purposes, though they look pretty cool, but they're actually there to kind of poke an animal, probably typically a horse, to get moving and to go in a certain direction. It's the same idea with us. So in this season where we're wondering, what do we do? How do we function? How do we lead? Part of what we're called to do here in Hebrews 10:24-25 is to spur one another on toward love and good deeds. And so it's not that we don't stop doing loving things for one another and good deeds for one another, but more than that, we're also to spur other people toward that. And hopefully people are spurring you toward that. That's important. Then, of course, there is the invitation then to meet. And here's what I think about. I think there's room. I've heard from a couple pastors that they take this to mean literally, no, we're supposed to meet and that's that. I've heard from many more. I happen to fall in this camp where I think it's more nuanced. And back when these words were written, stating the obvious here, but no social media, no streaming ability, none of the technology we have today. And large groups didn't meet together in those days, and everything had to be firsthand. It's very different now. So the spirit of do not give up meeting together, arguably at least, is accomplished through creative means. So I'm glad that churches continue to meet. The church that I'm part of, Glen Lake Community Reform, we are meeting and streaming, as many of you are. But basically, it's about, I think, trying to be a community, a worshiping community, in some very difficult a season of difficult challenge. However we do that, this idea of not stopping to meet together, to be a worshiping community, to be in fellowship with one another is important. And I wish you well as you unpack that. My job here is not to tell you how. That's for you and your leaders to figure out. I guess my point is, I think it's nuanced. Thirdly, though, and I think most importantly, is there's a call to encourage one another. Encouraging one another as the day draws near. And that, I think, is our biggest opportunity, perhaps, at least in these two verses. To encourage one another, again, if you go back to the original time when this was written, everything had to be done firsthand. Not anymore. Notes, cards, phone calls, texts. If you can, yes, coffee, maybe a safe meal, whatever works for you. But more than ever, in this time we're in right now, this difficult, challenging time, we need to be about encouraging one another as pastors, as leaders, and in our churches. So that's an encouragement for you and for me as well, for all of us. Thanks. Have a great day.